When we light the first Advent candle on our wreath, when we sing our first Advent carol of the year, when we change the color to blue or purple, we Anglicans understand that we have entered a new time, a new season, a new focus in the Church. Much feels different as we recognize that we are to make ready once more for the coming of the Word or the Son of God. A time like no other in our Church's calendar. Advent is our season in the Church to press a pause button, to catch our breath, and to intentionally prepare, to prepare for the coming of Jesus. This takes work and commitment and focus. In and amidst all of the commotion that this time of year brings, amongst all of the glitter, decorative lights, and reindeer, is a simple message of slowing down, focusing on what is important, and preparing our relationship with God for a renewed encounter. This is a time of pause, of quiet, of intentionally stepping away from the busyness to seek stillness and simplicity that helps us see with new eyes and focus with new intent, to pay attention to our understanding of Emmanuel, or God with us. What do these words mean in our spiritual lives and our pilgrimage in this world? There are many important people who begin to take center stage at this time of Advent in the Church. If you have been practicing your faith for some time, you could probably list them. John the Baptizer, Elizabeth, Zechariah, Joseph, Quirinius, an innkeeper, and several others. But for me, the name that really brings to the center what this time of Advent, of preparation for the arrival, of intention, really means is Mary, the mother of Jesus, the young girl who was confronted by an angel, and this moment never left her, but transformed her life and our faith. And to that, she offered words that are meant to continue to transform and change us as we reflect upon what it means for God to have entered time and space and our very being in Jesus the Christ. Mary spoke, or sang, or prayed, "My soul magnifies the Lord, and my spirit rejoices in God my Savior, for God has looked with favor on the lowliness of God's servant." She said, "God has shown strength with God's arm, scattered the proud in the thoughts of their hearts, brought down the powerful from their thrones, and lifted up the lowly, filled the hungry with good things, and sent the rich away empty." We believe in a God connected with our lives and our living, a God who cares about how we walk in this world, a God who calls us to love and grace and forgiveness, a God who calls us to tread with gentleness and kindness in this world, a God who brings down the powerful to recognize their own vulnerability and weakness, a God who lifts up the lowly and fills the hungry and places the riches of this world in perspective with what matters most. We need those words in our hearts and in the world now. With war in the land of the Holy One, with war in Ukraine, with famine in Africa, with drug overdoses and homelessness in our neighborhoods, with much work to do in reconciliation, with a climate emergency that we seem to want to ignore, we need to hear Mary's words afresh this Advent. We need to let them wash over us and invite us to live into God's calling. We need to let them affect us and invite us to the hope God has in us by sending Jesus into our midst. We need to let them be part of our own preparations for the coming of the Christ. I'm currently reading the book Finding the Mother Tree by Suzanne Simard. I recommend the book to you if you want to learn more about ecosystems and the importance of the interaction of all species. In the book, she writes this: "We can continue pushing our Earth out of balance with greenhouse gases accelerating each year, or we can regain balance by acknowledging that if we harm one species, one forest, one lake, this ripples through the entire complex web. Mistreatment of one species is mistreatment of all. The rest of the planet has been waiting patiently for us to figure that out. Making this transformation requires that humans reconnect with nature, the forest, the prairie, the oceans, instead of treating everything and everyone as objects for exploitation. I hear Mary's words of the Magnificat in all of that. The importance of recognizing that God works through and in all things, that our interactions in this world reveal much about our faith and understanding of God's relationship with the world, that our preparations for the coming of Jesus call us into a renewed relationship with God and with our neighbors and with ourselves and with all living things. May you magnify the Lord. May your spirit rejoice in God, your Savior. May you recognize all the great things that the Holy One has done for you. May you recognize the holiness of God's name, and may you live into this. May Advent, as a time to prepare for the coming of Christ, be a time of discovery and renewed connection for you.